Well, service providers. So these are the people who really provide the services immediately. Right? So if you have a bookshop, a service provider sells the books, whether it's a physical shop or Amazon.com. This is the company that sells you the books. And then you have another type of services where they find the cheapest way. So when they had to buy this camera, actually I went to a website, and at the website for this camera I could find out different shops that would have the camera for different prices. And some of the shops I could go, and some of the shops were web shops where they had a delivery time of 5 days. So the website informed me about how quickly did I need it, and what would be the price, and what would be the additional services. Right? So this is the risk assessors or auditors type of thing. So this website didn't sell cameras. The website told me information about where to get the camera, how quick, how far away, what was the price, what were the extra services. Okay? Could be part of your design. So you can see here, lots of different roles that are separate from the role of I provide the service, you buy the service. But they are also all relevant for making the best experience maybe for the client. Of course, sorry, for the customer, for the use of the service. Okay? So keep this in mind whenever designing. There could be roles that would, in the end, make the service better. And at the same time could cost more. It's always a balance. You have to consider and negotiate. When we are designing services, as we will start to do 2 weeks from now, you have to communicate, to talk. You have to talk to many different people, stakeholders, the people who consume the services, the people who provide the services, all the other people involved, the stakeholders, and communicating to all these people, well, is not a straightforward thing. You are taking the role of the designers. You are working as a design team. So maybe already at noon we will start to, no, not at noon, but like half an hour, 20, 40 minutes from now, we start to find groups, right? If we are lucky. And as groups, you are the designers. And you have to communicate, to talk, to negotiate, to collaborate with many different people. And this means that you need to use all types of representation techniques. And just talking wouldn't do the whole thing. So you need to use techniques. So just an example, you could use storyboards. Storyboards that in a way it's like a comic strip. It's something, then the next, then the next. It helps you to illustrate for people who are not designers. Because the people you are talking to are the people that use the services, the people that provide, the people that advise on services, the people that help navigate services, and you have to explain. And so things like storyboards, but also video sketching and video prototypes, and many more of these types of techniques are very useful to talk to people who are not designers. So I'm expecting you to develop this type of techniques. And actually these are the techniques that you are going to study and so study next week and present on 2 weeks from now. Right? So we start looking at the different types of techniques. And these are the reasons why we need these techniques. I'm giving you a couple of examples of service design. Well, this is, let me say, the old situation, the situation of the 1900s, the 20th century, when you see large companies, very structured large companies with big buildings where they would produce many different things, and there were assembly lines, and so people would build thousands and thousands of cars or bicycles or books. And each company wanted to stay alive, so to be more prolific than the competitors, and consumers were pretty much accepting it. People would buy one car or the other car, and they wouldn't complain, but they would buy the car that had the lowest price and the best comfort or the best color or the nice new line or whatever. And people would just select from what's on the market and buy the thing that best fit their possibilities and their needs. But it's now different. And you will find out that people now want to change the products, to have the products in a way tailor-made for themselves. So people want to have something that's special for them. And this means that also production and the production line changes. And I can give you some examples. So let me just go to this one. The problem is that the customers who would like to have, for instance, their own sports shoes that fit their own, or a mobile phone with their own color or their own cover. You should understand that most people who want it are not professional designers. On the other hand, they are the people who experience. And this means that if you want to sell mobile phones these days, you have to allow the people who buy it to have their phone look like their own thing, even if they are not in any way experts in design. And this means that service design now certainly looks like designing interactive things, designing things that people can fit to their own needs, their own taste. And we can learn from commerce, because commerce was there before service design. So if you look at companies like Nike or Philips, you find out that there is lots of possibilities to buy a thing that really comes from a big, large production line and still looks like it's made especially for you. And it is, in fact, made especially for you. So if you now go and buy a car, you buy a car that's from a large production line, and still you can put a lot of nice extra things on the car. You can make your car look like your own personal car. I bought a car and I had for a couple of €100 extra things put on the car, and now nobody else has a car that looks like mine. Right? Even if it's a car that just came from the normal production line. But it's mine, it's designed by me. Well, there's not too much car design because I'm not a professional, but I made it look so that everybody could recognize, oh, this is Gerrit's car. Just by adding things that nobody would combine on my car. So, mobile phones. Design your own mobile phone, right? And obviously it's just simple. You don't need to be a mobile phone designer to do this, but you can get your mobile that everybody can recognize as yours. It's special. You made it, it's unique. Even if it's from a production line. And like Nike, obviously they tell you this is the experience you can get if you buy our shoes. Right? This is the shoes for the guy who runs that fast. And we have lots of possibilities for you in the shop. But you can still create your own. You can set your color, you can set your heel color, and so on. So you can put your name on it, whatever. Right? So Mart or Martijn, he puts his name on the shoe, he shaped his color. So in this way, this shoe was made especially for Martijn, his colors, his design, and he is certainly not a shoe designer. He's a runner. But he got the shoe that's unique for him. Right? And still the shoes are produced. Right? So, but it's now providing the experience of something that's personal, that's just for you. And for service design, this is what we want. So if people go to a restaurant, they in many cases just don't want the standard menu, but they want to compose their own menu. So you should allow them to make their own choices and still make it sure that the chef can prepare it quickly. Right? So this is how we should work. And the same could be there for public services. So people going to university, people going to hospital might want to have their own special things. I'm not aware of the complete situation in Italian universities, but in my university in the Netherlands, if students want to study, let me say, computer science, there's a whole list of courses they have to take, and then they have the freedom to take other courses, or to combine courses, or to have courses in a different way, or actually to have one course not in my university, but from another university. Right? So maybe you took a course here because you are using this as part of your curriculum in Spain, is that true?
No, we are just in an Erasmus program.
Okay, but an Erasmus program is a typical example. In an Erasmus program, you can exchange some of your Spanish classes for a class in Algernon or in Amsterdam. I know, because I have Erasmus students in Amsterdam. So they fine-tune their curriculum to their own taste. And maybe there's not too many people who take the same set of courses in order to get your bachelor or your master. Right? So you can make a unique curriculum, a unique way of combining all the classes. Right? Yeah. So universities do this, hospitals by the way do this. In hospitals in many countries, and again I'm not aware of the Italian situation, but in many countries you can decide in the hospital whether you would like to be in a large room, if you have to be in the hospital for several nights, in a large room or in a small room, if you want to be there at a certain time or if you want to wait. And sometimes you have to pay for extra services, but you can get the experience that best fits you, up to a certain extent, right? And hospitals can not make you better than you are. So this is, you have to accept it. But they can make it in a way that you like. So for instance, in the Netherlands, when there's children in the hospital, parents can pay to actually live in the building annexed to the hospital for the period of their children being there. So they are, let me say, every day with their children. And they pay for that, and it means that for the child, it still means that mom and dad are around. Right? So this is kind of adjusting the service to the individual needs of the people. Now, I told you already, in the public sector, service design is part of what governments provide. It's the municipality or the country. And as far as I'm aware, the most advanced situation is in the UK. This has been already a target point of UK politics for about 15 years now. So they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work on service design. Systematically, they were aware of the fact that services needed to be designed, that it's an iterative way of producing services, and they published it in English, so we all can more or less read it.